And then the way people are talking about Cat's Eye these days is really driving me crazy, because you would think that these women are like shooting people in the streets the way people are so angry at them, and it's because they didn't like their Grammy performance. Or Danny made a joke about Sophia on Jimmy Fallon that Sophia said she wasn't bothered by. They're discoursing too much. I saw Danny's dad came out to defend Manon after she said it feels racist that people say she's lazy. I saw that interview, and Manon was not wrong. There were plenty of other girls who were not coming to rehearsal or were taking rest days. The documentary didn't choose to focus on them with the lazy plotline, did they? No, they chose to put it all on Manon, who's also an artist that they debuted. I don't know why they sabotaged an artist they wanted to succeed. I can kind of get the villain edit for Adela because she didn't actually debut in the group, like, to an extent. I don't endorse it, but like, I understand it. With Manon, I'm like, why did they just assassinate her character for no dang reason? You really just set her up. I don't know if you've heard, I don't know if you've been on the internet lately, but things with Cat's Eye are not going so well at the moment. It has been, I think, 4 days since they announced that Manon was going on a temporary hiatus from Cat's Eye, and I do think that the entire fandom is broken. Honestly, this hiatus feels like it was probably meant to improve things. It somehow made things 10 times worse. But I'm gonna walk you through some of this in case you aren't familiar. I mean, first of all, if you're not familiar with Cat's Eye, watch my video on it. No excuses. I do think it's important to say that in the world of K-pop, hiatuses are common, especially because there's so much dancing and touring and so much promotion. And it's more common with JYP groups in particular that artists will go on hiatus, whether it's for their mental health or their physical health. 90% of the time they come back. Hype, it's different because we just had the situation with Danielle from New Jeans. Danielle just got kicked out of the group. And then famously, a couple years ago, when LE SSERAFIM was debuting, there was this big scandal with Garam, the 6th member of LE SSERAFIM, where she was accused of bullying people in middle school. Now, I would say that bullying people in middle school, like, it's not great, but also it wouldn't impact my view of a pop group, but everything's getting out of control. All the fandoms are fighting. Everyone hates LE SSERAFIM. They're boycotting LE SSERAFIM before it even starts. And so then Garam was announced that she was going on temporary hiatus, and then she never returned. And same with Vicha, if you remember from my Cat's Eye video, now called Girl Set. They announced Kaylee was going on temporary hiatus, and she never returned. Also, not the first time that Cat's Eye has had members go on temporary hiatus. The fandom just wasn't that big, so I don't know if people know this, but Megan went on temporary hiatus for, I want to say, 2 or 3 months during the cis era because she had a back injury. And that's what makes this all interesting, is that we knew that Megan had a back injury. And with all of the other hiatuses, there's either been some sort of public scandal or a specific injury that's been pointed to, whereas here it's very vague and it's causing people to panic. So should I feel better? Honestly, I still don't even know how to feel. After open and thoughtful conversations together, we are sharing that Manon will be taking a temporary hiatus from group activities to focus on her health and well-being. We fully support this decision. Cat's Eye remains committed to showing up for one another and for the fans who mean everything to us. The group will continue scheduled activities during this time, and we look forward to being together again when the time is right. Thank you to our icons for your continued love and support, patience, and understanding. Hi, Bex Geffen. Honestly, when I first saw the statement, I was sad, but I genuinely didn't take it the way a lot of people initially took it. Oh, this is the end. This is Manon leaving. And I think that's not really an indication of this statement. I think that's just like me. When I read a statement, I kind of just default to, oh, it's true. Kind of just don't assume things are a lie right off the bat. But I do understand why people feel a bit strange about it. We just had interviews with Manon where she was publicly talking about how excited she is for 2026. They're doing Coachella, they're doing Lollapalooza, they have all these big events. And she specifically mentioned really wanting to do Coachella. So she was not showing any signs of needing to be on a break. But at the same time, it's well known that she suffers with some sort of health issue, and it's caused her to be absent from various performances over the years. I remember where they flew out to Tokyo and her and Megan were absent from the first day. And everyone was always like, oh, Manon's so lazy Manon, because that's the narrative that we'll get into. And then Manon literally went on live that day with Megan and was like, yeah, I had COVID and I fainted in the airport. There have been multiple times where Manon has gotten COVID, gotten a cold. She has the immune system of a Victorian child, okay? She's also someone, and this is another thing that she said publicly, she's from Switzerland. She comes from a culture where when you're sick, you take breaks. And that's what she does. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, maybe this is her taking a break so that she's for sure good for Coachella. Like maybe she has some injury that they didn't want to get into, and that's all that's going on. Manon gave another statement on Weverse that I think is equally as cryptic as this statement, but left just enough for panic to start setting in. Weverse is the Hybe official communication app. Doesn't really matter, but anyways, she said, "Hi friends, I want you to hear this from me. I'm healthy, I'm okay, and I'm taking care of myself. Thank you for checking in. Sometimes things unfold in ways we don't fully control, but I'm trusting the bigger picture. Thank you for standing by me. I love you endlessly and can't wait to see you again." When I saw her say, "I'm healthy, I'm okay," it is a contradiction from what she says here, or what Hybe says here rather, of focusing on her health and well-being. She's saying she's healthy. But I kind of took it as, oh, they haven't said what's going on with my health. I just want you to know that it's not like a dangerous situation. Or maybe it's not something physically wrong. Someone in her family is dealing with something. But I think what really worries people, the line here about sometimes things unfold in ways we don't fully control, but I'm trusting the bigger picture. It's so fake, but I also feel like surely Hybe would be approving anything that she's sending out. I get why people are speculating, because there is always a different energy with Manon in terms of her treatment. So people have good reason, I think, to be skeptical when it comes to her being on hiatus and whether that was her choice. Part of me really does worry that genuinely Manon just wanted to take a step back. No dramatic reason. She just needed a break, and Hybe was like, sure, because she's a very popular member of the group. They accommodated that. And all of this stuff is breaking out. It's gotten so intense the past couple of days. Imagine this wasn't for dramatic reasons and she saw all this stuff happening. I appreciate that people are standing up for her, but it's also creating so much discord within the group. It's not the support for Manon that bothers me. In fact, I really appreciate that and I agree with it. It's the hating on Daniela and Laura and Sophia, Daniela in particular, but hating on them when I am sure they contractually cannot say anything. And again, we genuinely don't know what's happening. I don't think that's helping anybody. It does kind of feel like One Direction. Well, Madison, it's funny that you say that. Just before the hiatus was announced, this article from The Cut comes out. First of all, The Cut filmed a video with Cat's Eye, and in this video they go thrifting in LA. Manon is not in this video, but in the description box they state that Manon met up with them later off camera. Manon is already somewhat publicly absent. Manon joins around lunchtime and she says, "When One Direction split, that was really hard. I don't want our fans to go through that. I don't want to be responsible for breaking so many hearts. But they can't run that risk of thinking too far ahead just yet. Cat's Eye is gonna stay for a while." I don't know when they did this article, but it was in the last few weeks. And again, there are other interviews around this time where she's like, "I'm so excited for Coachella. Cat's Eye is going to be the biggest girl group in the world." Another thing that Manon says, so she's talking about the Popstar Academy documentary, which again, if you haven't seen my video, it's kind of hard to explain the whole context, but Manon very strangely got a villain edit in the show because she missed some rehearsals, which other people did as well, by the way. And it sort of got spun as a storyline into the show as Manon doesn't know what she wants. She's not dedicated to this group. And I think their intention with the documentary, if I'm being super generous, was they wanted to show a redemption arc, like, oh, she locked in at the end, she proved herself, and now she's here. But what it did instead was give a lot of info to weaponize to people who already are going to have something against Manon one way or another because of racism, because they just don't like her. This was just evidence to people that she wasn't deserving enough to be in this group. Visuals of K-pop groups get this a lot of like, they're not on the same level or as deserving as the other girls, even though Manon is such a big draw to people for Cat's Eye. Put that on top of her being black, like it was just, they just set her up. I think she has proven her investment and dedication to this group time and time again, but people just don't want to acknowledge it. And I do not understand why they made her look so bad, but also they show Laura and Sophia kind of having like tense moments with her too. So again, there's already speculation when the group hasn't even started that these girls don't like each other. Literally all the girls are like, I can't watch that documentary. That documentary didn't even show how hard we worked. I didn't like how they portrayed us. Manon had a reputation on Popstar Academy for being absent from rehearsals and had to miss a date on their first North American tour owing to illness. "It's the way I grew up," she says. "America has a very different culture when it comes to work-life balance. You guys are all about grind and hustle. In Switzerland, where she's from, if you're sick, you take a day off. No no one's going to expect you to work. It doesn't help that her work ethic has been under scrutiny since day one. Being called lazy, especially as a black girl, is not fair. Now I feel like I always need to put in extra work to prove something, even though I really don't. In general, the girls describe the competition on Popstar Academy as intense, dystopian, the drama, the ranking. That's not how we see each other. Another important thing to note from this article is Cat's Eye all lived together from when they first debuted, and people weren't sure if Daniela and Manon still live together because there's been rumors for about a year that Daniela and Manon used to be like the closest in Cat's Eye, and now they're not close anymore, which again is none of my business because this is a job at the end of the day. I know they market themselves as we're all best friends, like every girl group or boy group has to, but they cannot be besties. But this article confirms that they do in fact still live together, so that is also important context. I believe this happened also a day before the hiatus was announced. She talks about the racism experienced by the lone black girls in girl groups, and people see that Manon has liked this video, and her liking this video got so much attention that she unliked it later. But that's another thing where people are like, does this hiatus have to do with her possibly being mistreated behind the scenes, which is not unheard of or crazy to think about because we know how she was set up and depicted in Popstar Academy. We've seen how not the Hybe staff, but the Geffen staff spoke not very highly of her in the documentary. Long before this happened, in the summer, people were already talking about Manon needing to leave the group because there was speculation that she was intentionally being left out. And here are the few examples that I remember. They take this picture in front of their Glossier billboard, and as you may notice, Manon is not there, but also Yoonchae is standing in a Mike Wazowski style directly over Manon's head. And then they also did the Monster High promotion. They did a photo spread they only included pictures of the 5 girls and left out Manon. The publication that released these photos had to clarify that they only published photos that were sent to them. So the Hybe x Geffen didn't send them a picture of Manon. They did after there was backlash and corrected it, but again, weird. And these are all happening in very short succession, right? Same Monster High thing. They all get their custom dolls matching their outfits. And people notice in this video that every single one of them talks about their dolls and talks about how important it is to their culture, like the little details in their costumes, except for Manon. And she just totally disappears. Things blow up just from there. And people are like, oh my God, Manon is leaving Cat's Eye. If Manon doesn't leave Cat's Eye, she needs to leave Cat's Eye. Manon posts this TikTok on the Cat's Eye account. This is in July.
Wow. Hey, people.
One of these things is weird. One of these things is a coincidence. But I think people have a right to feel a certain type of way about this stuff. And again, Hybe set themselves up with othering her in the documentary. Like, of course, people are going to be on edge about something like that because they already did it. We're back to now, okay? We're back to when Manal's hiatus has been announced. She follows a bunch of black women in other former girl groups, like Normani from Fifth Harmony. They follow each other. And Melody from, I believe, the Pussycat Dolls. She posts something in support of Manon, and Manon likes it. She posts and deletes this picture of a dandelion, which honestly, I do fear we're grasping at straws if we're trying to find meaning from this. This is kind of... I saw people in the Reddit were like, a dandelion represents resilience, survival, emotional healing, and the fulfillment of wishes. Maybe trying to send a positive message before management asks her to remove it. Guys, I don't think we're given enough information. I can't parse that out. You either die the hero or live long enough to become a Gaylor level theory about your fave. To be fair, I don't think all of it is Gaylor level. I do think the Instagram story about the dandelion maybe is a touch too far. We haven't even gotten to the crazy part. Oh, this is another thing that I should say. We're a bit out of order. But recently, Manon did a short film. This was a couple weeks ago. And people speculate that maybe she's on hiatus because they think that she violated her contract by doing the short film. And I'm going to say right out the gate that I just don't think that's true because multiple higher ups at Hybe and Geffen liked her Instagram posts of this film. Laura just starred in a music video for someone else today. They are allowed to do solo projects with permission. It'd be one thing if we saw Manon as the new face of Apple or something. If we saw her doing some random sponsored thing that none of the other Cat's Eye girls were doing, I think that would raise the question of her violating her contract. But this is not the reason. This short film is just not the reason. Because I think you also have to understand that Hybe and Geffen, they may not always treat her well, but they do understand that she makes them money. And they're not going to cut ties with her over something as subjective as this. They can make things hard for her, but they're not going to cut ties over something like this. She may have violated her contract, but there's no proof of that. And one thing I'm not going to do is side with a company in the absence of information. And with the context that I do know about Manon, I'm going to support Manon. Manon's boyfriend posts this Instagram story, which I do, in fairness, think this is much more concrete than the dandelion from before. The internet is sick of watching Black members of girl groups be mistreated. Manon's hiatus from Cat's Eye is reviving conversations about what Black and mixed race artists often face as part of a popular group. Now, Manon is in a I assume, much more limited position to speak. So people do think that this may be more indicative of why she's left, whether it was of her free will or whether this was something that Hybe did. Let me talk about Daniela's dad. And let's talk about Daniela generally. I mentioned before that people have speculated that Daniela and Manon have some sort of beef. Honestly, it's just them not standing next to each other in live streams, or when they were on Jimmy Fallon together, Daniela said something about Sophia when she was supposed to say something about Manon, like really, really small things. And Daniela has been, I think, subject to a lot of controversy in this past year because she has become much more popular. Her parents are Cuban and Venezuelan. I remember there being a controversy about a year ago that Daniela's mom was following Trump on Instagram. And a lot of people point out that as a Cuban immigrant, that would not be a surprise to people. I don't know if that's the case. And honestly, the following people on Instagram stuff, unless there are so many multiple reliable sources proving that, I don't take screenshots of Instagram following seriously. And I also do just think it's important to know, I'm very lucky that my parents are not MAGA, but I have friends who are lovely, who are leftists, who are well educated, great human beings, and they have terrible parents. Luckily, their stuff just gets posted to Facebook to their 30 friends. I do not think it's fair to assume that her political beliefs are the same as her parents, even if that's the case. Also, just because you follow someone on Instagram doesn't mean you support them. Daniela's dad, and I do not want to get weird and parasocial about their relationship, like Daniela and her dad's relationship. I'm just going to state objectively, Daniela talked about growing up primarily with her mom, and she does not follow her dad on Instagram. They do have a relationship. He went to one of their concerts, and he is very supportive of her online to an extreme degree, some would say. We don't know what their relationship is in private, and I would never expect her to clarify what their relationship is. But let me just give you an example of some of the crazy stuff that he posts. Before we even get to the stuff people are talking about now, he has been known to be a little bit of a problem on Instagram because he, one, follows a troll account of her boyfriend, an account that is specifically dedicated to bullying her boyfriend. He reposts, I would say, a good 20 edits of her every single day. There was one edit he posted. It was an edit of Danny. The text on the screen was congratulations to whoever's getting it every night. An edit talking about how sexy his daughter is. He reposted that. This is another one. He regularly posts thirst traps of his daughter. If I'm being generous, it's because he's just seeing things that are positive about his daughter and just going boop, 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 and not processing it. If I'm not being so generous, honestly, it's objectively weird either way, I was gonna say. The first one I saw was him commenting, this was on a post announcing her hiatus, where he said, "The show must go on! With or without a member, Cat's Eye is bigger than one girl." This is on a post about Manon taking a break for her mental and physical well-being, right? And we're already who cares? Move on. From Daniela's father, right? Not just from some random man. Presumably you've met this girl. Forget about her. It got so much worse. He says, "We need girls who can grind. Cat's Eye is a powerhouse. The show must go on." And I want to call back to the article where Manon talked about people calling her lazy very unfairly. But Cat's Eye is a 6-piece, point blank period. Hybex Geffen, do not fuck this up. And he replies, 5 is okay too. Daniela and Manon live together. They live together. And they presumably still live together in this moment. Imagine your dad going crazy on Twitter about your roommate. I think the really crazy one is he says, "Come back when you're ready to work." Which to a lot of people seems like the real confirmation that this wasn't a voluntary hiatus on Manon's part. People speculate that Danny has maybe filled him in on the details. Again, I don't know their relationship. I don't know how much they talk. I don't know if he actually knows shit about fuck. For all I know, it's just as believable to me that he could just be racist and rude, uncalled for, with no information. I would not take his word as gospel, but that doesn't mean it's crazy to say. Hybe needed to be sending a cease and desist immediately, which I think they did. Important context, his Instagram is down now. If you look for it, it's been deleted. Daniela has not said anything, and her comments immediately are flooded. Are you going to talk about your dad? Get your dad. And people sort of assume the worst, that Danny was shit talking Manon to her dad, and that's why he's saying all these things. I think this man may just be a freak. I also think that it's not a crime if Danny was venting to her parents. I think there's like a degree of things that we as the public just should not know. This man does not have any sense of that. I do not want to know what's going on in this man's head. Girl is trying to copy Manon, but she'll never be an icon like Manon, and she'll never be like Lisa. Never. Cat's Eye is not going to work if Manon is not there, whether you like it or not. Cat's Eye does not run based off Manon. The girls will be fine. Why are you fighting with these people in Instagram comments? It's so embarrassing. So he deletes his Instagram, but you know, his Facebook is still active. There's a war going on constantly between the Blackpink and the Cat's Eye fans. I don't know. They've just decided that they hate each other. People are always comparing Daniela and Lisa because Lisa is considered to be like the best K-pop dancer there is. The question of whether Daniela is K-pop or not, blah, 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 blah. But people are always comparing. They said, who's your favorite, Daniela or Lisa? And he says, if you had to ask, Daniela, much better trained. Plus, she's also Latina. Major advantage against Asian dancers. I want to point out that 4 out of 6 members of Cat's Eye are Asian, by the way. So let's be clear. We're dragging Lisa. We're dragging all Asian people, just all Asian people. And again, 4 out of 6 members of Cat's Eye. Also, the second best dancer in Cat's Eye is Megan, who is Asian. And then her hips are untouchable because we had to, again, get a little bit weird about your daughter. Oh my God. My God. Manon cannot just be like, I'm back. Hiatus over. Like, let's all go to Coachella. I genuinely do have hope that the original plan was for her to come back. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think that Cat's Eye would last forever, but I do not think that they would ditch Manon so early. I don't think Manon would walk away based on everything that we've heard from her recently. There may be an issue going on. We truly don't know. But at this point, her comeback is going to be hard because now all of these other girls are getting flooded with Instagram comments about her, which if there is issues within the group, some people speculate that the reason she left is because she doesn't get along with the other girls. This is certainly not helping that situation. It's not Daniela's responsibility, but of course people are going to blame her for it anyways. I don't think something like that, like those comments, can go unaddressed. When Manon comes back, because I am manifesting that she can come back and be happy and everybody can be happy. But the only way she can come back is if Hybe falls on the sword and is like, hey, we disavow racism. We disavow Daniela's dad's weird comments. We are committed to protecting Manon. And not just say these things publicly, but actually do it. Because the other thing is, Cat's Eye, whether it's K-pop or not, I don't really care. There's a lot of overlap with K-pop fans. And there are so many nitty gritty things that Cat's Eye is getting picked on for these days. Because that's just kind of like the K-pop fandom. Little things are building up, and it's always the girls who have to say in Weavers, hey, just so you know, this is what we meant. It's not Hybe. It's placing the girls in this position where they're constantly having to defend themselves. When they defend themselves, it's also fueling more things going forward. Hybe, to this point, has just been letting that happen. Clearly, whatever is going on, things have gotten to a boiling point. I need Hybe to make a statement this week. It's honestly crazy to me that there hasn't been a follow-up statement of any kind. I understand why the girls haven't said anything because they're truly contractually not allowed to. Yes, they could break that contract, but that's not, I don't think at the end of the day that's helping anybody. I would love if Daniela could also come on and be like, hey, I don't like what my weird ass dad said. I stand with Manon. But I also understand that that's literally her dad, and that's, I don't know. Like, I feel weird being like, I feel very parasocial. Like, I feel bad. Her dad just shouldn't have said anything. Her dad put her in a shitty position. I think people won't believe or trust whatever Hybe Geffen would say in response, TBH. People are not happy with the girls at this point. So I would rather Hybe be taking the heat. The damage has already been done, and I fear it would take a lot for Hybe to win back support from fans. I also agree. Let's say Manon does leave. We have a new girl group from Hybe coming out soon. We also have Girl Set. There isn't just one girl group anymore. Cat's Eye was the first two. They weren't the first global girl group, but they were the one to like break through the mainstream in a way. They're a lot more replaceable than Hybe thinks. I don't know if they would last super long without Manon. Yoonchae is the only person not getting whacked by anybody around this, it seems. Yeah, which it's not that I want Yoonchae to be attacked, but I do feel like there's a lot of infantilization. People act like she's not also an autonomous person with her own thoughts. People are young. I certainly felt the same way with One Direction when One Direction broke up. When you're a kid, or when you're even just like a teenager or like barely an adult, you just kind of assume that like the boy groups and the girl groups are friends, unless it's Fifth Harmony and it's like so blatantly obvious that they're not. But When Zayn left, that was like a heartbreaking moment because it's like, oh, this is a business. Their contract renewal was coming up. Zayn knew that he wasn't going to renew. They disagreed about what their plans were. And people knew that Harry was talking with producers and sort of making his own moves. So Zayn chose to step out early. It was a career decision. If Manon is not at Coachella, when is Coachella? But if Manon is not at Coachella, I really do think it's over. Anything more than like 2 months, it's over. April. That is the story as of now. I hope Manon is doing well. I hope she's at least happy to see how loved she is. I genuinely just want the best for her. And if that's not with Cat's Eye, then I will support her in her future endeavors. Like, even if she were to leave, she's probably not even going to be able to say what happened. We're going to have to wait 10 years into the future, and Alex Cooper is going to be doing the interview, and it's going to be, oh my God. No. Hopefully we'll have someone better than Alex Cooper by that point.